What's happening?
So, welcome to another video. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen this car before. I've posted it on Instagram a few times. It's featured in a couple of reels, and I've spoken about it a bit because it's kind of like, when this was my dream car, and when I bought it, it represented like a few things to me, more than just a car. So at the time. So anyway, I thought I'd make a video about it because I'm getting rid of it, and I thought I'd like talk a little bit about the process, what it was like buying it, what it's like getting rid of it, yada yada yada. But let me quickly show you around the car itself. So it is a 2013. I always get confused whether it's 2013 or 2016, but I think it's 2013 G63 V8, and it is a monster. It's filthy. It's been filthy like most of the time I've owned it. But it's super cool. Side pipes out of both sides. Like nearly a 6-litre V8. AMG. It's super cool. It's the old school one, so it's a little bit more like primitive than the new ones. And it's, it makes a great sound when you unlock it, like that. People love like the sound of the doors opening and stuff, and it does sound cool. The interior is pretty cool. It's got TVs. Never used them, and it is what it is, man. It's a military vehicle that they kind of turned into a luxury vehicle. So it kind of like doesn't make much sense, but it's a cool car. It's a cool place to sit. Like, I enjoyed sitting in it. I enjoyed being in it for long periods of time. It's really comfortable. You got to really slam the doors. Yeah, anyway, that's it. It was, when I bought it, it was white. And I had it wrapped matte black by Yanamize. Weirdly enough, Yanamize were the only company that came back to me with a quote. So, yeah, they did it. When it was white, I liked it when it was white, but it was wasn't really me, right? So I had it wrapped in this matte black. I put like a couple of services on it. That's it. It's been like no drama, but I wanted to talk a little bit about it. So I'm actually going to smoke a little cigar while I make this video because why not? I smoke when I can't decide what I want to smoke, I'll smoke one of these Hoya de Monterey Petit Robustos. Super easy, chill smoke. Go with anything, any time of the day. V-cut. I don't know if any of my cigar people follow me, but if they do, you'll be interested in this stuff. I bought this St. DuPont cutter when I was in Capri, Italy, and it's got both a V-cut and a straight cut on it, and it has been the best cutter ever. And obviously, St. DuPont lights. I've got like a collection of these now. My girlfriend bought me this one. It's a camo one. Anyway, so back in the day, I was working at this, basically what was like a furniture factory, like not a big one, very small, and I was making furniture, like bookshelves and stuff like that. And the guy who was my boss, we were talking about dream cars one day, like what we would do if we won the lottery, blah, blah, blah. And he said to me, well, I can see you in a G-Wagon. And I was like, what's that then? And then I Googled it and saw one and was like, that is the coolest thing ever. There's something about the boxy shape of it. Like, I just like square body stuff. I love 4x4s and trucks, and there's just something about the G-Wagon which is like super cool, right? You either love them or hate them. A lot of people see them as like, I don't know, like the Kardashians drive them and stuff, right? But they're not that to me. It's a military vehicle with a supercharged engine in it. It's like, what wouldn't you love about that? It's so impractical and ridiculous, and I like that. Anyway, like, it was my first sort of like first dream car really, and at the time it seemed like such a preposterous ambition to want to own one of these because they're quite expensive and they're ridiculous. They're not practical. Blah blah blah. So, and I remember printing out a picture of it and putting it up at my desk where I worked, and a black one, literally exactly like this. I think it might have been gloss though. That's the only difference. And never really thinking much more of it. And then obviously, you know, throughout my life, it was like, it never seemed like that attainable, but it always remained an ambition. Anyway, fast forward to like the point where I have my own businesses and stuff. And I remember I was, you know, I'm well into cars. So I was scouring the internet one day and I saw a G-Wagon up for sale. Not this one, a different one. And I went and test drove it for a laugh and fell in love with it. And then quickly that turned into the search to get one. And then fast forward a few more weeks, my friend Matt, shout out Matt Freeman, he found this one online, low miles, really good condition, seemed like a great deal, good price, more than I wanted to spend, but there it was. And I just fucking pulled the trigger on it. I was like, do you know what? Like, I've worked really hard. The reason I started the businesses and started making money was because I wanted to own cool cars and shit. So fuck it. And that was a time where we were making a lot of money. Things were going quite well and I could just do that. So I did it. I bought it. And that was my first experience. And I didn't realize it at the time, but that was my first experience of like having a vision and then it becoming a reality. It was like many years later when I looked back and was like, I had a picture of this up on the wall and now it's in my garage and I drive it every day. That was quite a strange realization. So I get what the lesson I learned from that was that actually this visualization stuff can really work. The universe like works in mysterious ways, right? I couldn't tell you all of the steps I like made to make it happen, but all I can tell you is that one day it was this ridiculous dream and just a picture on my office wall, and then another day it was my car. So what was it like buying it? Because I think in my head I'd always kind of overestimated what these sorts of scenarios would be like. I thought I'd buy it and they'd give me a bottle of champagne and pull a cover back and everyone would celebrate and people would congratulate me and be like, amazing. But it was nothing like that. I bought it over the phone pretty much. They sent me a video of it, then an invoice. I paid the invoice. I bought it cash. And then it was delivered like the next day on the back of a truck, and it turned up and no one was there with me. It was offloaded on a truck. I remember when the truck pulled up out front my building and I was like, fuck, it's cool, right? It's a cool looking car. And they delivered it and gave me the keys and I had to sign a bit of paperwork and that was it. And then the guy fucked off and I was just there with my G-Wagon. So I started it up and I took it for a spin. And I fucking, I took it to a place called the Fair Mile, which is near where I live. And I fucking, I think I had it to about 140. And I was just like, this thing is mad. And it was wicked, right? And then drove it home. And it was like, cool. And then it was just my car. The best thing about owning a car like this, for me personally, has been that whenever you go somewhere or drive, it makes it a real occasion. So I've owned it for like, I think it's over 3 years. And I've never gotten bored of the cold start, of looking at it, of sitting in it. When you drive a car like this, you never forget what you're driving because it's not that kind of car. It's got too much character. So, I really enjoy the experience of driving it, the noise it makes, how it reacts and all the rest of it. I think some people have an assumption that when you drive a car like this, people look at you or think you're important, and it's not really the case. I don't know, I don't notice, but it has happened a few times, but it's not really what I'm in it for. My favourite thing to do, it's one of those things, you pull up somewhere, you park it, when I park it at home, for example, and I lock it, and I walk away, and I always glance back over my shoulder and look at it and think, I fucking love that thing. I think it's so cool. I think it looks fucking great. So that was my favourite thing about owning it. It made driving around super fun. I borrowed a car off of a friend once. We had to do a brief car swap. Not this car, I had another truck. And it was like a really nice 3 Series BMW or something. And I drove it for a couple of days. And everything worked and it was really nice. And there was a time in my life where I would have killed for a car like that. But it was just so uneventful. And I'm so used to driving cars. Like, I'm fortunate enough to be used to driving cars that are like a bit of an event. Even the old Land Rover, you know, it's like it's got its quirks and it's got all its things about it. And that's what I enjoy about cars. You know, it can just be a little bit, it can just make your day that little bit more interesting. Another funny memory I have of this car, of owning this car, is, and I've spoken about it on my Instagram before, there was a time where I was like flat broke, and it was like we had an issue with payments and cash flow within the business, and I was owed a load of money, but I had no money in the account. I had no money in my personal account. I just laid out for a whole load of stuff. The team was massive at the time. Like, cash flow was crazy. Like, money was coming in and then just going whoop, straight back out. We were spending so much. And I remember being quite stressed about it at the time, because as a business owner, cash flow is usually, you know, in certain businesses, cash flow is usually your chief sort of concern. And I was sat in traffic in this car, and I was wearing a Rolex, and I was sat in this car wearing a Rolex, and this group of like lads were walking past, and I could hear them, right, because I'm sat in traffic, windows open. And I heard these lads like, yo, check out the G-Wagon, man, that's sick. And they're looking at me, and I'm sat in the car with a Rolex on, in a G-Wagon. Looks sick, right? And I remember when I had been in the town I live, and I saw this guy come around the corner in a G-Wagon wearing an AP. And I was like, whoa, that's sick. That guy's got it figured out. Anyway, now I'm the guy in the car with the watch, and these guys are like, oh, sick. And I was like, yeah. In my head, I laughed to myself, because I was like, it's so funny that I look so successful. But that day I was like, I was so worried about money. Hadn't like, and you know, to everyone else, this looks like success. But to me, sat inside it, it did not feel like success. And if anything, I felt kind of ridiculous. I felt like a clown, because I was sat in this really nice car, which rich people drive, and I'm not a rich guy. I'm just, you know, I was like, am I blagging it? Have I become that guy who like is trying to look rich but isn't really? You know, I live in a 1-bedroom flat, and I'm driving a car like this, wearing a Rolex. It's kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, there's an argument to and against it, right? But I thought that was quite funny. That was one of the weirdest experiences I had owning a car like this. And now when I look at people who I used to perceive as being very successful, like have made it, blah, 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 now I don't really assume all of that. I've seen the other side a little bit, right? So it was a nice little insight. So why am I selling it? There's 2 reasons, really. The first reason would be because I've owned it for 3 years. I paid for the wrap and its maintenance, its services, tyres. But apart from that, I haven't put any money into it. So now is the sensible time to get out. And an opportunity came along for a new car, which I'll talk about at the end. And it was the sensible thing to do. And I remember being, as not a particularly sensible guy, I remember thinking, I should probably think about doing something sensible. I've kind of scratched this itch. You hear that. You hear people say that about these kinds of things. So I was like, yeah, okay. And then the second reason was because, as I've spoken about in other videos, the business suffered this kind of this blow, which was a customer going under and taking a load of cash that was owed to us, like with them. And I, in good conscience, like can't keep driving a vehicle like this when, you know, the company is in a position where we need extra cash, yada, yada, yada. So it's just like a sensible thing to do, right? So that's why I'm selling it. What am I going to do with the money? So I actually am committed to buying 2 properties this quarter. So some of the money is going towards that. And some of the other money is just going to go aside for me personally so that I don't have to stress too much, because at the moment, all of my cash is tied up in assets or liabilities, whichever way you look at it. So I don't have a lot of cash in my accounts and stuff. I have assets which I've sort of purchased. And this was kind of one of them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to get back pretty much what I paid for it. Not totally. I'll take a bit of a hit. But as far as like secondhand cars go, I've done all right. And it was worth it, right? It was worth it. I've really enjoyed owning it. So that's what I'm going to do with the money. And then what's next is, so I have ordered one of the new Land Rover Defenders, right? It's like a commercial one, really cheap, on a lease deal through the company. This, I could not put this through the company. Obviously, the tax man would absolutely like have a field day on that one. So I had to do this personally, but I can do the Defender through the company. And the Defenders are like there's a lot of them around, I know, but it's like a really cool car. It's a great deal, super sensible, and it's a brand new car. This is not a brand new car. Like, the Defender is a brand new car. I can get in it, it'll just go. It's low cost, low maintenance, all of that stuff. So, and the beauty of that is, if I'm planning on leaving the country, then I've got a car here which I can use. The company owns it. If I'm not using it, someone within the company can use it. So it's like, it's the sensible thing to do. That makes sense. So yeah, that's what's going on. So I bought my dream car and I'm selling my dream car. And do you know what? Like, I really enjoyed it. Anyone who says that it's that buying these flash cars and stuff like that is not worth it, it just depends on who you are, right? If you're like me and you enjoy fun-loving stuff like this, then fucking just go for it, man. Like, enjoy it, do it, and then sell it on later. I think the problems arise when you attach these items to your personality. Like, if you become like the guy who drives the car and you expect to keep up appearances like that, or you care what people think, man, like, I'll be honest. Would I rather keep this? Sure. Yeah. If I had infinite garage space and infinite money, and, you know, I would. But am I sad about selling it? Really not. No. There are other things which I would get, which have sentimental value to me, which I might get a little bit more, funny about. But I don't have an emotional bond to this car. Like, it was my dream car, and I bought it. But really, all I did was prove something to myself. I proved that I could do it. And now I want to prove something else to myself. I want to prove that I can just not care about it too. And I think that's just as valuable as the buying of it, you know? It's like I've said loads of times before, it's not about, it's not about the car. It's more about the person you have to become to get the car, right? And that certainly is true for me. And I think it's true for getting rid of it as well. You don't want to be the guy who's like concerned about, oh, I don't want to sell my car. Who will I be without it? Fuck that, man. Like, I don't care. Like, let it go. Like, I'll get another one later down the line. It just doesn't matter. Another thing that I think is like important is my experience, right, with this kind of stuff. And I think this is why I'm not overly emotional about it. In the past, when I started my companies, etc., I got rid of all my stuff, all of my luxuries, in order to afford to put myself in a position where I could do the shit I needed to do. And this just kind of feels like another one of those periods, kind of like a slingshot. You know, when you want to put yourself in a slingshot, there's a period where you pull back and before you let yourself go. And it's been like that in my past. And I would imagine it's going to be like that in my future. So I'm kind of like getting ready for the next period of go. So that's what this is. So it's going on to the next person. I hope they've had as much fun with it as I have. I've really enjoyed owning it. I'd probably own another one in the future. It was like peak motoring for me. I mean, there's other things I want to do, like Ferrari, hot rods. You know, I like old vintage stuff as well. So we'll see about that in the future. But for now, it's goodbye G-Wagon. So if you've enjoyed this video, then give it a like. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. I'm sort of like documenting my life as I go. And if you want to keep up with it, make sure you're subscribed. And if you've ever experienced something like this, if you've ever like bought your dream car or sold your dream car, or if you have a dream car or something like that, let me know in the comments below. I'd be interested to know. Yeah, make sure you follow me on Instagram, Tom Ford Online, for all the updates, and maybe I'll make a video on the new car when it turns up, if Land Rover ever decide to finally build it. But thanks a lot. I'll see you in the next one.